Hello and welcome to the Sensei Pongcast. I'm your host, Sensei Pong, and to this week, or this episode, or whatever, whenever this comes out, I'll be talking about the news of the week, gaming news. I'll also be talking about my most anticipated games of 2017, as you probably saw in my title, which I'm preemptively deciding the title. And my pipe dream game of 2017, the game that probably won't happen, but I wish would happen. And again, I'll be talking about the games of the week that you should go check out and play, or at least check out, because my choices this week aren't necessarily something that you may be into. I have no idea, but I figured why not just keep it like a random like little thing, be like, hey, these are random games that don't get a lot of coverage. Go check them out. Maybe it's something you're into. And if it is, if it floats your boat and you just like float in that boat for like hours and days and months, good for you. That's awesome. And that makes me happy because I was able to get you on a game that you actually like. Shabam. Don't do that again. All right. Anywho, so yes, my most anticipated games of this year, before I even get into the gaming news and onto the anticipated games, I want to say it's not going to be in any particular order because I'm actually planning a video for my main channel at www.youtube.com/Mr. Sensei Pong of my top 10 most anticipated games. And you may have like a slight idea what might be on that list. Maybe there's going to be some surprises in there that you don't realize or don't even think about. But go check that out whenever that comes out. Hopefully that comes out soonish than laterish. I'd hazard maybe this weekend or within the next week. I don't know. It really depends. Anywho, gaming news. Da-da-bum-boom. Gaming news. Time for the gaming news. And luckily, if you're not that into the Switch, there's actually quite a bit of gaming news that happened this week. And I figured, hey, this is actually a good point. There was some scandal. So let's start with a light subject, really. So I'm going back into the Scalebound cancellation. No, light news. So I was actually thinking to myself, okay, what's my most anticipated games of this year? So I looked up at some lists and I was like, okay, I like those games. Those games are cool. That looks awesome. Am I going to be able to play that game at some point? I don't know, but it still looks awesome. I want to see it at least. And if it's really good, I might even think about getting it. But that made me think, what movies are coming out this year? And I thought to myself, well, are there any video game movies? Because this is a video gaming podcast. I was thinking, okay, let's go check that out. I was only able to find one, and it's Resident Evil. Where is that information? Resident Evil, the final chapter, coming January 27th. So that's coming up real soon. And if you're into the Resident Evil movie franchise for its cheesy fun, just popcorn movie type thing, or whatever they call it, yeah, go check it out. You might enjoy it. I don't know. I can't guarantee that it's going to be good. Some other movies. And there's another Pirates of the Caribbean movie coming out. Power Rangers, I'm very iffy on. But looking at all these releases, I did notice one funny thing. One like funny little trend this year. So on June 16th, you've got Cars 3. On June 30th, you've got Despicable Me 3. And on December 22nd, you've got Pitch Perfect 3. And on November 3rd, you've got Thor Ragnarok, which is the third movie in the Thor franchise. This is the year, 2017 is the year of trilogies and trequels, whatever you want to call it. That's not a word, trequel. Well, it is, but it's not what it means. I learned that the hard way. Anywho, so I thought that was funny, yes. Cars 3, why do we need that? Despicable Me 3, why, again, do we need that? Pitch Perfect 3, again, why do we need that? Thor Ragnarok, essentially Thor 3, It may or may not be good, I have no idea. But the Marvel movies tend to be pretty fun, so I wouldn't imagine that's going to be terrible. I'm really hoping, but looking into movies, I actually started thinking to myself, hey, what's going on with that FNAF movie? So I couldn't find any good information. If you're curious, you're probably not. But it was like dropped, it was picked up again, dropped, whatever. As of last year, Scott Cawthon, creator of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, said people are still working on it and the original release date was summer of 2018. Whether or not that's going to hold true anymore, I don't know, but the bulk of you are going to be giving out a sigh of relief that the movie may not come to fruition. But frankly, I feel like the Five Nights at Freddy's story can make a better cheesy, fun movie versus a plethora of games. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens with that, because it might actually be a pretty decent movie. I don't know. I'm not like huge on horror movies, but it could be. Then again, it can be absolute garbage. Who knows? The Halo movie. So Peter Jackson, I'm sure you know who that is. He directed the Lord of the Rings franchise and whatever, all that. He also did that newer iteration of King Kong, which was mediocre. But Peter Jackson wants to produce it, and he still wants to produce it. But at the moment, from all the information that I was able to pull up on the Halo movie coming up, it's in pre-production limbo, and they can't get a script down. They can't get people to jump on board with it. But hopefully that comes out through, because follows through, because the hoary that's terrible. The Halo stories are actually pretty good. If you read any of the novels, if you played any of the games, the story actually isn't that bad. It's pretty solid, and I can see that being a pretty decent sci-fi movie. Anyways, that's the light news. What was some other interesting things that came out? Oh, so you don't jump on me for being hey, Pong, you didn't cover any of the Nintendo Switch news this week, which there's been quite a bit. What was that? I have it written down here. There was some game that was announced that looked pretty cool. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, a new Fire Emblem game coming to the Switch in 2018. Yeah, that's a ways off, but that's still pretty cool. If you like the Fire Emblem series or you like strategy RPGs, look into it. It's pretty cool. Also, Fire Emblem Warriors is coming to the 3DS alongside with the Switch. I'm assuming it's going to run better on the Switch than the 3DS, but the 3DS is actually a pretty decent piece of hardware, so as long as they optimize it, I can see it running pretty well, or actually being a pretty fun little title. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see when that comes out. I don't know. So, what was any other fun news? There's a whole list of news here. So, for anybody curious, Foxnet, which is a division of Fox, 20th Century Fox. I'm probably mispronouncing this name, but Salil Metz, president of Foxnet, is now overseeing the new gaming division for Fox. So what does that mean? I don't exactly know. There's a lot of Fox properties out there, like movies and TV shows and what have you. And it's kind of cool that they're looking seriously into making video games and things for VR and new forms of entertainment and whatever. That's pretty cool. I'm okay with that. What does that mean in the long run? Who knows? I don't know. Oh, but some interesting scandalous news. And yes, I'll talk about the Facebook Oculus Rift thing pretty soon, but let me just get this one out real fast. Last year there was a big hacking thing going on, and you might have heard the name of some sort of spyware or a virus or some kind of hacking group that connected with the Mirai botnet, led by a gang called DDoS. Anyway, some interesting information popped up. And this kind of pertains to Minecraft players out there. But the DDoS group, from what the evidence has shown, they're corroborating with Minecraft servers or hacking into them to steal the money from the servers. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Minecraft servers, how much money do they make? Well, according to the numbers, some of them make $50,000 a month. And that's not bad for just a third-party server. That's quite a bit of money. And if DDoS is basically planning their, little bots and whatever, and all boobadas in the servers with those Minecraft servers, they can steal quite a bit of cash or just mess with the servers or whatever they want. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's some evidence to show, and I don't know how far this investigation is going to go. I'm sure it's going to dive deep now because it's pretty bad. But some Minecraft servers have actually been working with DDoS to basically sabotage other Minecraft servers. The big one that you may know if you're a Minecraft player is Hypixel. Hypixel has been attacked numerous times last year, apparently, and money's been stolen. and players on the Hypixel server have been like messed with and all sorts of things. So they would get annoyed and move to a different server to their competitors. And holy balls, who knew Minecraft was going to have like all this junk come through? At some point it was maybe bound to happen, but if you want to look into it, I'd look into it. If you're a Minecraft player and worried about your security, I would look into that as well. I didn't have much time to really dive deep into this story, but just some pretty crazy news. Go check that out. I'm sorry I don't have any more information on that. I didn't actually write so many notes on that. But yeah, the investigation's going on right now, so maybe they're just not leaking out enough information at the moment, because I couldn't really pull up a whole bunch of other than just basically how they're doing it and why, and that basically explained why, because, you know, criminals steal money. What what would you expect, huh? Anywho, so other big, crazy, horrible news was apparently back in 2014, now it's finally coming to trial. I was actually wondering about this because I want to say I heard about it 2 years ago, but never really looked into it because nothing ever happened. Because the trial didn't happen yet. Now the trial is finally happening. Where is that? ZeniMax. ZeniMax, a tech company that has been doing research on VR and all sorts of things, has sued Facebook and Oculus Rift back in 2014. Yes, back in 2014 for $2 billion, claiming that Facebook destroyed evidence to show that they were actually taking the research that ZeniMax had on VR and applied it to the Oculus Rift. Some more information came up, and earlier today is January 19th, that the co-founder of Facebook, last name Lucky, was put on the stand, and he was super nervous and like just kind of spacing out, staring at his water bottle, all of that. Take that as you may. That's substantial. That's just like how a person acts in the court. But depending on, you know, who knows if he's guilty of this. But the argument that ZeniMax was putting out is that Lucky doesn't have the tech knowledge to actually really put out an Oculus Rift. He doesn't have the engineering background. In fact, he dropped out and didn't actually study it up. And he wouldn't be able. He wouldn't be able to pull up the put together what the Oculus Rift is now without the help of ZeniMax. And then the CEO of Oculus Rift came onto the stand, obviously today also, but he was a lot more like calm, a lot more like, man, it is late. I should stop recording these late. He was more constituted. He was more calm, and he seemed more put together than the co-founder of Facebook. So what does this mean? I don't really know. The evidence shows both sides. But if you're really worried about the future of Oculus Rift and Facebook with all this and ZeniMax, sit tight, try to keep track of this trial because it's still ongoing. And what do I think is going to happen? I don't really know because it seems pretty up in the air. ZeniMax could just be going after Facebook because Oculus Rift, you know, it's the Oculus Rift. There's a lot of money in that. And Facebook itself has a lot of money. So they could just be trying to go after them. At the same time, would I put it past Zuckerberg and Facebook and just Oculus Rift in doing this? Because according to ZeniMax, there is evidence to show that they destroyed the evidence that they took for the tech from ZeniMax. And if that is true, there's no like beef around that. That's just that's intent to destroy the evidence. That's if they're intentionally destroying the evidence, they are guilty. It's pretty clear cut. So what do I think the outcome of this trial is going to be? If ZeniMax puts out a good enough case on Facebook for this, Oculus Rift might fall out of the scene in the long run just because of the $2 billion loss. That's if they get the full $2 billion as a settlement. I'll try to keep track of the story if you want me to, but as of right now, the case just started, so there isn't like a clear-cut like outcome of this trial. Who knows? This trial might go on for like the next 3 months, and it might be like a O.J. Simpson situation. 20 years from now, Zuckerberg is going to write a book and be like, "How I got away with it," or "How I would have gotten away with it if it were true." But Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, so maybe some of you want me to actually go into detail about the Scalebound cancellation and my thoughts on Platinum Games. Now, I'm not exactly worried about Platinum Games here. Is it sad that Scalebound got canceled? Yes, I'm retreading on some information that I did last week. But yes, it is sad. It is incredibly sad. But from the information that I've picked up from other like commentators and news reporter, journalists and news sources, it seemed like a creative difference between Microsoft and Platinum. One is very Western, the other is very Eastern, and they're just butting heads. Maybe it was good that Scalebound didn't come out. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? We'll never know because Scalebound is now a defunct game that we'll never see. Will Platinum Games be okay? Oh yeah, no, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. They have propositions and games everywhere else. They'll be okay. I'm sure they'll be fine. Heck, if they come out with another Bayonetta game on the Switch, and if the Switch does well, they'll be rolling in cash, and they'll be fine. So, am I worried about Platinum Games? Not really. They'll be fine. Did they lose a lot of money in this? Yes, they did. But who knows what's going to happen? Platinum Games should be fine. Other news. Now for the fun stuff, and then I'll bring down the joy with something quite sad that I learned today that I didn't know, but I had like a feeling that something was wrong. But I'll get into that in just a second. So apparently, some ROM hackers inserted Bubsy into Streets of Rage 2 for the Sega Genesis. If you want to look that up, go look it up. I'm sure it's on romhacking.net or whatever it was called. I don't remember. But whether or not you're going to find the ROM hack easily is up to question because it's a new ROM hack, and those don't usually come out very easily unless you know how to like patch the IPS file to the ROM, which is actually incredibly easy. But you know, for what is that? For like legal purposes only, I'm not going to really explain. But what I can say is that it's incredibly easy to patch those IPS files to a ROM. Maybe one is called Lips. I don't remember the name. I could be wrong, but it's incredibly easy if you're into finding hacked versions of ROMs. But do I know this? No, I don't know. Have I ever done it? I don't know. I may or may not have in my time. You know, I was young and dumb, and sometimes you do things that you don't always remember. But my point is, have I actually played the Bubsy ROM hack? Well, Streets of Rage 2 ROM hack yet? No, because I couldn't figure it out. Something was wrong with my files, so I couldn't get that going. But from what I saw on YouTube, it looked pretty cool. It looked pretty funny. So if you're into like ROM hacks, Bubsy and Streets of Rage 2 for the Sega Genesis. Some good Switch news. According to Destructoid, they claim that the Switch won't blow you away, but it will still satisfy core gamers, which was one of the thoughts I had when looking at it, because I was like, okay, well, these motion controls are an option, blah, 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 and it's not that big of a deal. Anywho, so on to some sad news. So, more serious news, and it's more of like a call to action for you if you enjoy Pat the NES Punk. You may or may not be familiar with them. They're a YouTube, like a bigger, pretty decent-sized YouTube channel, pretty big. And they run, Pat runs another gaming podcast, which I've mentioned before on my channel or on the last episode, I don't remember, called the CU Podcast, the Completely Unnecessary Podcast, where he talks about retro games and gaming news and all that kind of stuff and discussion. So if you're into these kind of gaming news podcasts, go check them out. But the point is, Ian Ferguson, his co-host and friend, hasn't been on the podcast for like, I want to say maybe like 3 months now, for a good chunk of the podcasts. And Pat was saying he was sick, and every single time he's sick. And I was thinking to myself, man, is something wrong? Is Ian doing okay? I never really looked into it because I just trusted blindly that, okay, well, things are fine. Maybe they're just having a little tiff, maybe an argument or something. But it doesn't seem like they would, because I've listened to them for quite some time, and I know how Pat and Ian kind of work together professionally. And they don't seem like the kind of people that would necessarily get into an argument and have that like jeopardize, you know, the structure of his podcast and the structure of his YouTube channel. Anyways, what it is that Ian Ferguson has been actually been in the like going in and out of doctors in the hospital because he has some sort of like intestinal problem, and he thinks it was gallstones, but he wasn't sure. And he's been going in and out of doctors, and the doctors haven't been doing that good of a job. My point is, Ian, bit the bullet on this one, because he was like, okay, I don't have the money for this, but so I'm going to just start a GoFundMe because everyone's telling me that I need to start a GoFundMe because he doesn't have the cash. He doesn't run his own YouTube channel. He doesn't have, enough money to cover all the medical bills. So my call to action for you is that if you can spare anything, go look up Ian Ferguson GoFundMe, and I'll leave a link down in the description of this podcast. If you know who he is and if you want to go help him, please go do that. Pat and Ian are some of the best people on YouTube, some of the best game reviewers, some of the best entertainers, and important to the retro scene. So go check that out. Go help them out if you can. So let's lighten this mood just a little bit more and come back to something that was funny. Well, not really funny. The funny thing is right after this. If you're into Overwatch, stay tuned because you probably already know this if you play Overwatch, but Overwatch is celebrating the Chinese New Year with a seasonal event for the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Rooster, probably skin updates, whatever. I know that was a bad segue from something serious to lighthearted, but, I'm trying to get through this news very quickly so I can get to the bulk of this podcast. But, yes, the Ian Ferguson thing is very serious, and it made me kind of sad. But, anywho, whatever. Yeah, sorry about that segue. I have bad segues in this. Oh, is there anything else? Anything else? Not really. Oh, retro news. So, if anybody is into plug-and-plays like the NES Classic Edition, aka the NES Mini, Retrobit Generations, the reviews are out, and they're not looking good. I'm usually pretty weary about plug-and-plays. I love plug-and-plays. Don't get me wrong. I love plug-and-plays, regardless of their quality, but maybe you're not as lenient as I am. But Retrobit Generations is this cool little plug-and-play. It's a great idea. It's full of arcade titles and what have you. But the reviews have been pretty bad. I haven't really looked into it too much. But there's been complaints of lag, complaints of bad emulation, whatever. People just, it's gotten 2 out of 5 stars, which isn't very good. Another bit of information that came out recently is that people have hacked the NES Classic. Am I surprised? No. People do that all the time with these plug-and-plays, like the Atari Flashback. That was the first thing that came to my mind. If you're familiar with Atari Flashback, you probably are. You've probably seen it at Walmart or your local department store. But with the earlier versions of the Atari Flashback, which is maybe one reason why they keep coming out with a new one. The Atari Flashback 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. The older versions, you can actually take it apart and look at the board. And the board still has the cartridge slot where it would be if it were a real Atari 2600. What you can do is you can solder on man, my mind is so tired right now. The little connecty piece to it that chunks on the cartridge onto the board, and you can play any Atari 2600 game you want. People have been doing that for a long time, so I'm not really surprised. According to Pat the NES Punk, from what he's pulled up, it's not worth the time. There's better options, and I agree with him. From what it sounded like, it's a very manual process. It's just terrible, and it would take too much time. There are better options, and the first option that came to my mind, because he started listing off a whole bunch of options, I'm not going to list those off. Go listen to his podcast for that. But the first thing that came up to my mind was actually the last thing that came to his mind, which was funny. Different trains of thought, I suppose, but was taking a Raspberry Pi and just modding it and just throwing on as many emulators and ROMs as you like. That's something that I want to do at some point when I find the time, because it's pretty easy to do. If you're into building computers, if you like doing programming and whatever, it should be no trouble for you. And it's probably going to be cheaper because you can get Game Boy games, NES games, Super Nintendo games, Genesis games, Master System games, Atari 2600 games, some MAME games, everything that you want that is retro that can run on a Raspberry Pi. You could probably do that yourself. That's 10 times better. Anywho, that was pretty much the end of the retro news that's kind of pertaining to me. And things I thought were interesting. Maybe you find them interesting. I don't know what my audience is. I really don't. I got kids, I got like old people, I got seniors, I got middle-aged, I got people that are about my age. My audience on the YouTube channel is very wide, and I have no idea how to cater to all of them. Please leave your comments down below on what you want to hear from me. What kind of gaming news do you want to hear? What kind of gaming news pertains to you? What do you want me to cover? Do you want me to cover like new releases? Do you want me to cover like just general gaming news, like the Facebook thing with being sued by ZeniMax? ZeniMax? Was it ZeniMax? Yes, ZeniMax. I keep wanting to say like Zenipad or MaxiPad, but ZeniMax, whatever, like new ROM hacks that are out. What do you want to hear? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm terrible at this. So, but I have like this new thing that I want to start up called the IGN News of the Day. IGN News of the Day. IGN News of the Day. I'm going to stop that. It's annoying. Stupid little comedic segment, because every time I look through all the news sources, IGN has the best, highest quality news content out there for video games and entertainment. So, what was one of the first article that caught my eye? It was titled, "Yes, Ben Affleck is seen..." I can't even read it. "Yes, Ben Affleck has seen the Sad Affleck meme." If you're not familiar with the Sad Affleck meme, it's this funny, hilarious video on YouTube pertaining to the Batman v Superman. And as you probably know, as I probably know, I haven't seen the movie because I'm not like running out to be like, yeah, Batman v Superman. Despite how much I love the Superman comics, and despite how much I love all the the entire DC universe, I wasn't running out to go see that movie because I had bad feelings about it to begin with. Because my personal opinion, DC doesn't do a very good job at making movies. DC doesn't care about their film, their TV, so they let the writers do what they want, and the writers have done an excellent job at doing The Flash, doing Supergirl, and doing Arrow. Even Legends of Tomorrow is not that bad. Is it the weakest of the bunch of that four? Yes, but overall, even Gotham's not that bad. Gotham's really cool. The DC Comics TV stuff is really good, but their movies have always fallen flat for me, outside of the Dark Knight series, but that's negligible because that's before, DC started being like, oh, we should start making movies again. Well, so what was it? Ben Affleck quoted about the Ben Affleck meme, Sad Affleck meme. He said, "It taught me not to do interviews with Henry Cavill where I don't say anything, and they can lay Simon Garfunkel tracks over it. That's one thing I learned." What was the point of this article? I don't know, but it's the top gaming news. It's popular gaming news. That's what it is. If you want to go see that Sad Affleck meme, pause this podcast and find a way. If you're probably listening to this on your phone or iPod Touch that has video capabilities. Go look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. Though there was another IGN news article of the day for some of the premier gaming news that I found, which was also pretty funny, that I found not that recently, like earlier today. It was about Ewan McGregor re-recording the song Be Our Guest for the upcoming movie Beauty and the Beast. I'm gonna like loosely connect both of these articles to gaming, saying that there have been Batman and Superman video games in the past, and I'm about 50% sure there was a Beauty and the Beast game back in the day. I don't remember. I don't know. It was around like the mid 90s when I started like I stopped trusting licensed games. I was burned too many times earlier in the days. Believe me, there's some great licensed games back in the day, and that's what kept me going. But it's just like a few years after that, after playing Batman on the Genesis or like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Superman, not Superman, that's a terrible 64 game. Simpsons, they're both S. They're both S. They start with the letter S. So, yeah. Simpsons, Arcade. I already said TMNT, right? Yeah. There's a bunch of them out there that are great. Batman Arkham series is pretty decent. Mostly. From what I've heard recently, I'm glad I never picked the newer ones up. But it just, yeah. Anyways, what's my point? If you really want to know why Ewan McGregor had to re-record Be Our Guest, he wasn't comfortable with it. I guess, according to the news article, he was jet-lagged, and he has a thick Scottish accent, and doing a French accent is hard for him, and the director was telling him to, like, lay off it, because maybe it was just a bit too much, and, you know, the weird, like, stereotyped, borderline racist junk that you get with, like, super, like, overdone like French accent. So he wasn't comfortable with it, so he had to re-record it. So what's the point of this? I don't know. Why is this why is this on the top news stream for IGN? How should I know? Who cares? If you want to see the movie, go see the movie. Do I want to see the movie? No. Whatever. So yes, those are your top IGN news of the day, of the week. Let's see. Switch news. Oh, I didn't write this one down, but before I forget, and it's something that if you're into the Nintendo Switch, go check it out. There's a YouTuber, a pretty prominent YouTuber by the name of ProJared. If I mention any other YouTubers, chances are they're like 1,000,000 times bigger than I am. So go check them out. If you're listening to me, I don't know why you're listening to me. You should go check out like really legitimate sources here. Not some dude recording in his garage. Yes, I'm in the garage this time. But that's only because the laundry machine's going on and I didn't want the boom, boom in the background. I didn't want that going on. So ProJared had this pretty fun interview with Reggie Fils-Aimé, the president of Nintendo of America. And it was a fun little switch back and forth, and they played with the little switch every time there was a little snap. They'd switch sides, and ProJared would ask Reggie a question, and then Reggie would ask ProJared a question. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I don't want to be treading on ProJared's shoes, because there's a lot of good YouTubers out there that I look up to for, content and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to go into detail about that. But if you are into the Switch, it is a pretty decent interview, because Reggie does ask this one question. Oh, what was it? Oh, he said something along the lines of, now you've said some pretty sharp things against Nintendo in the past. What was the worst thing you said about Nintendo? And say it to my face. And it was hilarious. And congratulations to ProJared for being upfront and blunt, because that's nice to see. But I could see the fear on his face. I could see the fear on Jared. It was obvious that it was there, because he was like, "Oh, you threw that question at me. Okay, that wasn't part of any rehearsal." But it was a pretty good it's a nice little short video, but it's a fun video. Go check it out if you're into the Switch, because Reggie does go over some information that wasn't put in the presentation and goes into better detail about how he feels about the Switch and what's going to happen. Of course, it's completely biased because he's the CEO, the president of Nintendo of America, but it's still good information for the Switch. If you're into that, and if you're confused or worried or overhyped, use that information how you may. Confirmation bias, I don't care. It goes either way. Whether you're one of the Nintendo-doomed Nostradamuses out there, or Nintendo Wind Nostradamuses out there, that ain't a word. Go check it out. It's still a funny video. It's still a lot of fun, and ProJared is awesome. He covers a lot of random things. So, now the segment that you probably were into. Actually, before that, let's take a quick break. I need to refill my tea. Screw it, I got a bottle of water, and it's delicious. Actually, it's not that delicious. I'm not a huge fan of Crystal Geyser, but my wife Muka doesn't like Crystal Geyser, so I'm not going to drink the other water bottles that are here. Anywho, why are you here? Probably my most anticipated games of 2017. I know I'm kind of late to the game, so just bear with me. Hopefully I can get the video out that corresponds to this on my YouTube channel soon. And the video that's going to be on my YouTube channel is going to be my top 10 most anticipated games. What I'm going to do here is not going to do them in any particular order, not to kind of spoil that video. Hopefully that video comes out within the next few days or a week. It really depends on how long the production and editing takes. I'm probably going to record that script soon after I record this podcast. Anywho, so what are my most anticipated games of 2017 in no particular order? Well, I got a whole laundry list of them. I suppose... Oh man, my notes are so scribbly. But I've talked about this, I don't believe I talked about it as like, ooh, I'm so hyped about this game, boo-ba-doo-ba-doo-boo. I don't think I did, but Tekken 7, which is coming out on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, I don't remember if there's a actual set-in-stone release date for that, but it is releasing this year at some point, and everything that I've seen, if you're a big fighting game fan, Tekken 7 is supposed to be one of the best iterations of Tekken. Hopefully. That's what it looks like, what I've heard. At the moment, it's only available in arcades in Japan or something like that, because I haven't seen it anywhere. But it should be cool. Go look for that. Another one that's not so notable, Star Wars Battlefront 2, which, okay, I know you're going to be like, what? Why ain't that notable for you, Pong? Because, well, I didn't jump on the hype train for Star Wars Battlefront last year because I was just like, no, it was... When did Battlefront come out? It came out earlier, I want to say. Yeah, it came out in 2015. What am I talking about? Anyways, Star Wars Battlefront 2, hopefully they fix the problems that they had in Battlefront 1, but, no one can never know. But am I excited to see it? Yes, because if they do fix it, it can be the most amazing game ever. It will be releasing on PS4, Xbox One, and PC at a to-be-announced date. So that's probably going to be announced at E3. So what's another one that's going to be announced at E3? Probably Halo Wars 2. If you're into Halo, that looks pretty good. I don't know. I haven't been truly excited about a Halo game in quite a long time, but it looks pretty good. Resident Evil 7 for obvious reasons. At the same time, I'm very weary about Resident Evil 7. Yes, I apologize that I'm just kind of going through these really fast, but I have a pretty large list. And I want to go into the detail about the games I'm really, really excited for. Hopefully that doesn't spoil the video, but where was I? Resident Evil 7. So, from what I've heard, it's actually scary, and they're actually kind of going back to their roots with, like, kind of a haunted house thing, sort of. But if they do kind of stick to their roots and not make it like your run-of-the-mill FPS shooter, hopefully it turns into a good Resident Evil game, because that's not why I or you go into a Resident Evil game. You play it for just the survival horror aspect. You play it for the storyline. You play it for the mood. You play it for the setting, not for the run and gun action. So hopefully that's going to be good. Crash Bandicoot Remastered on the PS4. I'm excited for because Crash is fun. Crash Bandicoot games are a lot of fun. I shouldn't really have to go into detail about that. If you're not familiar with the Crash Bandicoot series and you own a PS4, maybe this is a good time to finally get into it because, yeah, they're cartoony 3D platformers, but they're fun. Believe me, they are fun, and it is pretty gratifying just getting to know a level and being able to run through it and do the little spin attack thing that Crash has. It's a very gratifying game. Another game that I'm slightly excited for is Injustice 2, the DC thingy fighty game thing. Looks pretty sick. The game is freaking awesome. It's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. I don't know why I had to look that up. I knew that off the top of my head. God of War, a.k.a. Dad of War. This game, for everything that I've heard of, everything that I've seen, it's coming out on PS4, by the way, if you didn't know that. If you didn't know that God of War was kind of a PlayStation exclusive. Everything that I've seen of it seems like kind of a neat spin on the God of War series. I feel like maybe some people were getting bored of just the franchise in general because it's just, at the same time, there's some diehard fans. But hopefully this new spin of introducing his son isn't too far from the formula where core fans will get upset. Hopefully it's good. I don't know. Maybe there's going to be some actual, like, real serious heavy drama in there that can either make or break the game. I don't know. But one that I'm really excited for that has no release date set. Hopefully it comes out this holiday season at the end of the year. but it's Battalion 1944. I love me some FPS games, like some good, like, realistic, like, nitty-gritty, like, historic shooter games. This sounds really weird to say, but I'm not the only one out there that thinks so. That's why there's people that love Battlefield, and why people love Call of Duty to some extent. Now, okay, don't throw up your arms. I know Call of Duty isn't very realistic. And some people, the big COD fans out there, will be like, "No, it's super realistic. Is COD fun? Yes, it is. I'm gonna admit that right now. I enjoy me some Call of Duty every once in a while. It is a very fun game, but I want something like really hardcore realistic. It's not there for that. Battalion 1944 actually looks pretty good. So apparently, there's a lot of research on keeping it true to 1944, like what was actually going on in World War II. So as a history buff, I'm very curious. I'm very interested. It seems like it's going to be an awesome game. Oh, what was it? Oh, this one's not such a big one, but I'm excited because it's finally coming to Android, and it came out last year, and people have said it's actually really good. And it seems like the kind of mobile game that I'm really interested in, or I'd have a lot of fun with, or at least my kids would too. Now, you probably already figured out what it is. Yes, Super Mario Run for Android has actually been announced for Android to release in March. So technically, it's a 2016 game, but it's releasing in 2017 on Android. And for me, it's an anticipated game of 2017. You probably already know quite a bit about Super Mario Run, so that's coming out for any Android user that's really curious about it. I'm on the waiting list to at least get the demo. Something that crept under my radar, but I was looking around everywhere for like releases and all that. Something that looks really cool is this game for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC called Little Nightmares. It releases April 24th. If you're into like real creepy horror games, it seems to be like a puzzle platformer, which is pretty cool, and if executed really well, can be super, super fun. But it looks pretty dang creepy. Little Nightmares. If you're into horror games, look that up. That's pretty cool. What else have I not mentioned? Oh, South Park, The Fractured Butthole. I know everyone's saying Fractured Butthole, but it's technically 4 words. The Fractured Butthole. There's no comma there, but, whatever. Stick of Truth was awesome. I'm excited to see what the dev team has coming up next. It looks hilarious. It's actually based off of their superhero personas this time, not their fantasy Lord of the Rings-esque type personas. If I remember right, the class Jew is not coming back. So that makes me a little bit sad because I'm not trying to be offensive here, but the Jew was awesome. Anywho, if you're into those South Park games, this one actually looks really good. Stick of Truth was awesome. If you haven't played that, go check it out. Another game that was coming out next year, it's a PS4 exclusive as far as I know, is Ni no Kuni 2. If you're into Studio Gerbil, I know, I said that wrong, Studio Gerbil, or if you're into anime or just love beautiful looking games that are actually still really fun to play, go look up Ni no Kuni. It's spelled N-I-N-O-K-U-N-I. 3 words, N-I, and then no, and then Kuni, K-U-N-I. But the sequel is finally coming out this year at some point. I don't remember if there was an actual release date set, but it's probably going to be revealed out on E3 or coming out this summer, probably, because games usually get their big releases around the same time that movies do, with their summer releases and their holiday releases coming around like American Thanksgiving. So, because that's the big consumer times of the year when people buy video games. Why? I don't know. It just seems that's just what it is. It is what it is. But Ni no Kuni 2 looks beautiful, looks amazing. And I never really was too familiar with the game. My sister Birdie Berry has watched like Let's Plays of it here and there, everywhere. And I didn't really get into the game until my wife Muka started playing it around me. I was like, oh yeah, this game. I totally forgot about this one. I've been meaning to play this. And she started playing it, and it's everything that I've seen is everything that I'd want in a JRPG. So if you're into that, go check it out. Another one that I'm not exactly sure on, but still super excited about because I love new IPs, It's from Squeenix called Project Octopath Traveler. And as of right now, there's only one trailer out there. There's not a lot to go on, but from what it seems like, okay, the art style is cool. It's a kind of a updated version of like what you got in Final Fantasy Tactics, if you're familiar with that game. But from what it almost sounded like in the trailer, it seems like it might be an open-ended game. And the name Octopath, Octopath, that means there's 8 different paths at least. So I'm hoping that it's an RPG game where the choices actually matter. You know, unlike a Telltale game. Oh, burn. But like, it looks to be a really cool game. So I'm excited. It's releasing. There was no release date set for it, but it's the second half of this year. I'd imagine it's coming out for the holiday season. It's coming out on all consoles, including the but the 3DS, as far as I know. If it comes out on the 3DS too, that's cool. I got a 3DS, so maybe that version's going to be cheaper than the Switch. Who knows? If it is, I'm getting that because I'm cheap. Anywho, yes, Project Octopath Traveler looks pretty cool. I'm hoping it's everything I hope it is. Kind of a very open-ended RPG. Hopefully not too grindy, because that kind of limits the audience. But it seems kind of interesting. Maybe like a Fable like morality system where you can either be good or evil, but deeper than that, obviously. Another big game. Okay, well, I'm just going to get this one out of the way. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Do I really need to explain? Do I? Write that one down. If you didn't know that was coming out, if you didn't know, you probably were living under a rock. Who knows? Yes, I'm excited for Legend of Zelda. I'm super hyped. It's one of my most anticipated games of the year. So, surprise, surprise, that's going to probably make my top 10 list. Who knew? Another one that's not a huge surprise for anybody that knows me is Red Dead Redemption 2. So, that's pretty exciting. The Red Dead Redemption 1, if you don't know the game, was made by the same people that made Bully. I don't know why that was the first one that came to mind. Bully and Grand Theft Auto. And what Red Dead Redemption is, it's basically Grand Theft Auto, but in the Old West. And if you're a huge Western fan like me, if you like old Western movies, if you just love the Old West, if you love cowboys, boom booms with the outlaws and the craziness that came with all that, Red Dead Redemption is one of the most beautiful games ever made. You really get that feeling of being a cowboy outlaw out in the Old West, riding the horses, shooting the bison, getting attacked by coyotes. Everything you want to be a cowboy, you can do it in Red Dead Redemption. And as from everything that I've picked up from Red Dead Redemption 2, from looking at articles and trailers and all that, the information seems to be that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be a prequel. I want to say it was like 30 years before Red Dead Redemption 1. So that's going to be interesting, or maybe 20 years or something like that. When when the main character is around the age of 20, with all the other random characters that were there. If you do pick up Red Dead Redemption 1, the DLC Undead Redemption, which is a standalone spin-off parallel university type story, is pretty hilarious too. It deals with zombies in the Old West. It's good stuff. Go check it out. Another game I'm super excited for is Lady Layton. And what was the full title? Lady Layton, the Millionaire Ariadone's Conspiracy. All you need to know is that it's basically another Professor Layton game, but the story is going to be based around his daughter, Lady Layton. So I'm excited for that. I love puzzle games, and I love the Professor Layton series. It's coming out on 3DS. I don't remember the date. When was that? I have no date written down. Maybe it's not confirmed, like the release date. But that should be really good. If you love puzzle games, if you love anime, if you love visual novels, if you love mysteries, go check out Lady Layton on the 3DS if you own a 3DS. Did I mention Sonic Mania? You should already know, if you don't know already, but have watched some of my YouTube stuff, You know I'm a Sonic fan. I love Sonic. I always have loved Sonic since I was a kid. Sonic Mania looks like everything I've been wanting for years. It looks to be the next Sonic Generations. I personally think it might actually be better than Sonic Generations from everything that I've seen, because it's basically an old school 2D Sonic, and that's where Sonic shines. Not this 3D adventure, Sonic Adventure junk, not his 3D escapades. I want the core Sonic gameplay, and that's what Sonic Mania is. So I'm excited for that. It looks to be like a huge expansion on the Sonic game, just the Sonic formula. So I'm super hyped for that. What was another game? Oh, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Man, this is going on for a long time. Marvel vs. Capcom. There are a lot of games coming out this year. Give me a break. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I am terrible at fighting games. I am really, really bad. Like, you can just consider me just a punching bag when you're fighting me in a fighting game. But, like, I love me some Marvel vs. Capcom. I've always loved this series, mostly because of Mega Man. He's definitely not my strongest character. He's probably one of my worst characters I can play. I was actually I was okay at Captain America. But I just love Mega Man. I'm a huge Mega Man fan, and anytime Mega Man shows up in a good game, I'm just like, bam, eat that up. And I love fighting games, even though I'm terrible at them. But Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite seems like it's going to be freaking amazing. And I am excited. I am super hyped for this game. And it's probably going to... I personally think I'm going out on a limb because there's not enough information to go on for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. But I'm going to say it's going to be the best fighting game of 2017. If you're into like hardcore fighting games like Street Fighter or Tekken, look up Marvel Capcom Infinite. It's going to be amazing. That was another game. Splatoon 2. So I never really got to play a whole bunch of Splatoon, but everything, the little that I did and everything that I saw looks a lot of fun. I love FPS arena shooters. I love FPS games. And despite, not really covering them because they're not like my favorite genre, but Splatoon 2 looks to be a true sequel to Splatoon. And I think that's going to be like, it's not going to be the big killer app for the Switch, but it's gonna like wrangle up those gamers that love shooters. That's gonna be a solid title on the Switch, and Splatoon 2 looks like it's gonna be super hilarious fun. And everything that we've heard, go look up the presentation, the Nintendo presentation. Everything that we've heard, despite how wacky that presentation was to some degree, it's going to be really good. They're going to bring back the events. They've got new weapons. They've got new maps. They've got whole bunch of new stuff for Splatoon 2. So if you're a huge fan of Splatoon, go look for Splatoon 2 on the Switch coming out this summer. Oh, this one's not a big surprise. Ukulele. So if you like Banjo-Kazooie and have been wanting a Banjo-Kazooie for years, like a real Banjo-Kazooie game, or if you just love 3D platformers, like my next choice coming up, go look for Ukulele. It's going to be releasing probably on all consoles. I want to say there's some talk about them canceling the Wii U version for switching over to the Switch, because apparently the Switch is like really easy to develop for, and the Wii U isn't. So hopefully that comes out on the Switch. It needs to come out on the Switch. It really does. But I want to say it is. But it's gonna... No, that was Bloodstained. Ritual of the Night that had like the possible drop of Wii U version. But anywho, Ukulele is releasing on all systems come April? It was either April or May. I don't remember. It should be really easy to look up if you're already a fan. If you're already a fan, you probably already know. Oh, Tales of Berseria. That was another one. That's coming out real soon, like literally a few days from now. It released back in August in Japan, but the North American English version is finally coming out on January 27th in Europe and 24th in the States. So that's like literally a few days away. If you love JRPGs, and you don't know the Tales series, like Tales of Symphonia, I can't, man, I'm tired. I can't think of any other titles. Because I never really was super into the Tales series, or I wasn't even really familiar with it until I met my wife, Muka, who loves JRPGs. But she started playing Tales of Symphonia around me and was like, man, this is the best game ever. And she was like, dude, Fred, these Tales games are awesome. Play with me. Play with me, Fred. Play with me. I was like, okay, fine. I'll play with you. And now I love Tales games because they're fun. They kind of remind me a little bit of Eternal Sonata, but that's beside the point. Well, I mean, playstyle, kind of, to some degree. But if you love the Tales series, go check out Tales of Berseria. It's coming out very soon. Like, probably by the time you hear this podcast, it's probably in your store right now. Go check it out. What was another one? Oh, one of my most anticipated games of this year. Puyo Puyo Tetris. Because I love me some puzzle arcade games that are actually quality. Now, mind you, Tetris Ultimate, I've never played it. Everything that I've heard of, everything that I've seen is absolute garbage. It lags, it's not optimized. People have been having issues left and right, regardless of how powerful your PC is. And people were having issues on, I want to say the PS Vita when it was on that, and the PS3, and all sorts of things. But here's the thing. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Tetris Company or not, but the Tetris Company themselves don't develop these games. They're an LLC, and I'm not sure how often they actually create their own games. They might have created the mobile version of Tetris, but I don't know how often they actually develop, which sounds weird. All they do is basically license out the name Tetris to a developer and hope that they make a good game. Why would they do that? Well, it's easy money for them. That's why. And they don't need to have that many people in the company to get, like, buku royalties. So, shabam, that's what they do. Now, who's developing Puyo Puyo Tetris? And who developed Tetris Ultimate? Tetris Ultimate was developed by Ubisoft. And Ubisoft, regardless of how many good games they've created a bunch of garbage games, and they don't exactly care. They don't exactly have the love in their games that they probably should sometimes. And I can see Tetris Ultimate being one of those games that they just didn't really care about. Just like, well, it's got the Tetris name on it. People are going to buy it, so let's shove it out the door as quickly as possible. And that's probably what happened. I don't know too much about what happened with Tetris Ultimate, on why it was so buggy and why it was lagged so much, but that's what it is. So who's developing Puyo Puyo Tetris, you might ask? Get to the point, Pong. It's the Sonic team. Now, the Sonic team, regardless of all their problems in the past, do come out with good games every once in a while. And I can imagine Puyo Puyo Tetris being actually really good. Why, you may ask? Now, here's my thing. I've played Puyo Puyo in a few iterations on and off over the years on the DS, like Puyo Puyo Fever, and I've played a few other games here and there, like Mean Bean Machine. Sonic Team, I'm not sure if Sonic Team was around during Mean Bean Machine, but Sega in general does actually really well with their puzzle titles, which is weird. Maybe it's because it's just kind of a simple game to make. It's not like, oh, I got to make this giant map. I got to put like a crazy physics engine in here. It's a formula to a style of game that started in the 80s. It's not really a hard game to make. It's just, are the mechanics good, is what really spells out how successful a game is. Like Columns, here's a good example. If you're familiar with the Sega series of puzzle games, which was kind of their response to Tetris, called Columns, some of you out there might be like, God, love me some Columns. Now, here's my personal opinion about Columns, and this is not a very popular opinion. I don't like Columns. Well, to some degree, I do, and I respect the game, and I respect the audience. But is it as fun as, like, let's say, Bejeweled? Is it as fun as Dr. Mario, Puyo Puyo, Tetris, Bejeweled? Throw in any random puzzle game out there. No. I find Columns tedious and kind of slow. And it's not as straightforward because it's like, yes, it takes more skill and strategy and planning, but that's the problem with it. It's not like a simple Tetris thing where it's like, you got to make these rows and clear them out. It's not Dr. Mario where it's like, connect 4 of the same color to destroy these viruses. It's not Bejeweled where it's just simple, like, switch these jewels around to match 3. You know, it's not simple enough to be really fun. I find Columns to be more tasking. But here's the thing about Sega and puzzle games. They tend to actually make them well. They don't make them buggy. They don't do a bad job. Now, does this promise to Puyo Puyo Tetris to be any good? I don't know. It's kind of personally, I would see it as like a 80% awesome, 20% buggy kind of situation. So I'm still super excited about it because I love Tetris and I love Puyo Puyo. And crossing the two, everything that I've seen seems like something I want to see in a puzzle game. Some new, fresh ideas, some new, fresh gameplay. But, oh baby, I love puzzle games. That is like my serious addiction. When everything is said and done, when I'm done playing, my in-depth RPGs like Final Fantasy or whatever, or like Grand Theft Auto, at the end of the day, what do I want to sit down and relax to? What do I come back to time and time again? It's frankly Dr. Mario, but it's these kind of puzzle games. And I can see myself playing Puyo Puyo Tetris for years and years to come if it's as awesome as it promises to be. Sitting on the potty, taking a poo, playing Puyo Puyo Tetris. Because, oh my gosh, I'm probably going to die with this game in my hands. That's my personal opinion. What else do I have on the list? I'm going through this quite randomly, just like choosing things back and forth. Okay, there's one last game that you need to go check out right now. Like, literally right now, it is Cuphead. Now, I've heard about Cuphead on and off from different podcasts here and there, and people being like, I want me some Cuphead, boo-ba-doo-ba-doo-boo. And it's been in development for a very long time. But it's being developed by, like, I want to say maybe a very small team. And they are putting so much love and work into this to make it perfect. So I finally remembered to myself and looked up on YouTube what Cuphead was. And, oh my gosh, holy balls. Do you like Contra is the question. Do you like run and guns? Then maybe this game is the perfect game for you. But beyond that, the art style and the game looks beautiful. It is amazing to look at this game because the first time I saw the trailer, I didn't think to myself, am I looking at a game? This looks like some old 30s cartoon, and that's exactly what it is. It's like playing in the action sequences from the old, like, Silly Symphonies game, like Silly Symphony cartoons from the 1930s, because that's what the art style is, and they've emulated it so well and so smoothly that, yes, when you're actually playing the game, you're going to think to yourself, I'm playing a game, but if you're just looking at it, you won't think to yourself, I'm watching a game. You might actually think to yourself, I'm looking at some old 80-year-old cartoon. Because, oh my gosh, Cuphead looks amazing, and the music and everything. It is like reliving Toonerville Trolley, if you know the cartoon series. What was that? Something Harmonies to Spring? Time for spring, I say. But it brings like everything I love about old cartoons into a video game, and oh my gosh, I want to play Cuphead so bad now. I need to play that. Release date, when is it coming out? I couldn't find a release date. It's coming out this year, hopefully, unless they delay it again. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna hurt if they delay it again. It's releasing out on Xbox One and PC at some point this year. At least that's what they're saying. And this is my most anticipated game. Is it on my list? I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyways, point is, oh my gosh, Cuphead looks amazing. Go look it up right now. Pause the podcast and look up Cuphead. Maybe you don't see what I see, but if you like Contra and you love old cartoons and you love the music style of BioShock, go check it out. You won't be disappointed. So that sequence took forever. I apologize. I'm not close to the mic. I apologize. That sequence took forever. Where was I? So, what was I? Oh, my pipe dream game of the year, 2017. The game that I don't think that's going to come out, but I really want. Civilization Revolution 2. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that was random. He just rambled on about Cuphead and Contra and run and guns and puzzle games. Why Civilization? I love strategy games. I love almost all games, but strategy games and Civilization, I have just lost so many hours, maybe a full year of my life in Civilization. Because if I had to choose a strategy game series that I think is the best, it's Civilization. Maybe it's not your thing. Maybe grand strategy isn't your thing. I don't know. But I love Civilization. I've been wanting to do Civilization Let's Plays and like walkthroughs and whatever on my main channel, but I just don't know if there's an audience for it. At the same time, I'm just going to probably do it. Oh, but what about Civilization Revolution and my hope for a sequel? Now, for the Civ fans out there, you're going to be like, why would you choose Revolution? Why? It's so should I say casual? Yeah, it is. And that was the biggest downfall for me with Revolution. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I enjoyed Civilization Revolution a lot. Did I enjoy it as much as Civ 4, Civ 5, Civ 3, Civ 2, Civ 1, Civ whatever on the Super Nintendo? Yes, I loved it. They're fun, but yes, it's not as in-depth as the main series. Now, here's my thing. Here's what I would like to see that probably will never happen. Take Civilization Revolution, that easy-to-use console, UI that you had on Revolution that worked really good on consoles, and update it so you can have more depth. Once you shoot that nuclear missile, why is that the only one? I want a full nuclear holocaust if I'm going to be sending off a nuke in Civilization. I just want it. If Gandhi's going to be a dick to me, I want him to be just sending like 10 missiles at me, not just one, and suddenly the world crying out, being like, "Oh, this is terrible." I want like the full-fledged Civilization experience, but an easy use UI for a console. Why? Because I want to play Civilization on the go. I want it on the Switch. I want it on the Nintendo 3DS. I want, like, maybe a mobile version that's actually really in-depth. I highly doubt that's ever going to happen because mobile memory space and all that for different phones is different. But I want, like, a full Civilization experience that's easy to use on a console. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, "No, Pong, that's a terrible idea. Civilization on PC is always 10 times better than console because you've got mods, you've got the easy point-and-click feature of a mouse. It's called a mouse. It's been there for years, and it's worked great on strategy games for years. Why would you want to go to a D-pad?" Well, my biggest thing is I just want it mobile. I just want Civilization everywhere. I want to be playing Civilization in the car while I'm driving. I want to play... That's a terrible idea. I want to play Civilization while I'm on the potty. I want to play Civilization on the bus if I'm taking the bus. I want to play it in the taxi. I want to play it at work. I want to play it while I'm recording the podcast. I want to play it everywhere, not just my computer. Because my computer is for work, and sometimes it's hard to, like, differentiate... Oh, now I'm at my computer. I don't know what I'm going to work on for the YouTube channel. Might as well pick up some Civilization. No, I want that clear distinction of a Civilization game that has a full-fledged Civilization experience. Obviously, maybe not without the mods, which is sad because I love the Civilization mods. Those are some of the best mods out there. Rise and fall forever, man. Rise and fall. But if you're a Civ fan, you know what I'm talking about. Zombie Island on Civ 3. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't remember the name of the mod, but that one's hilarious. My Little Pony mods. There's a mod for almost everything out there. It's freaking amazing. But yes, you're not going to get that with Civ Revolution 2 if it ever happens. You're not going to get that with Civ Revolution on console or mobile. But the fact that I can play a full-fledged Civilization experience on the go on a Switch or a 3DS is very, very, very beautiful to me. I want to do that, but it's probably not going to happen. That's why it's my pipe dream game of the 2017. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. Regardless of that, I'm the sensei. I'm always right. This is my podcast. I can do what I want. Sorry, I won't do that again. So, finally, my games of the week. Games of the week. Games of the week. That was probably hell on the ears if you're wearing headphones. And if your ears are bleeding now, I apologize. Please send all your complaints to not a real address of Sensei Pong at AOL.com. So I've got 2 games this time for Games of the Week that you should probably go check out. But like I said earlier, these aren't necessarily games you're going to be interested in. But go check them out if there's some, because I know there's an audience for it. And for the people that are into it, you might be super hyped for it. But that's going to be kind of a small audience. So I'm catering to a small audience here on this. But 2 games that I chose this episode is this real cheap bargain game called Orcs on Steam. I want to say the original price is only $1. It's probably going to be on sale a whole bunch of times for 50 cents. Is it any good? I wouldn't really say so. But so why am I recommending it? I don't know. Maybe it's something you're into. Maybe you like bargain games like me. Because bargain games are fun. So the description to Orcs promised a Ghost and Goblins type experience. So I went in there all hopeful that it's going to be like Ghost and Goblins, and I love Ghost and Goblins. That's one of my favorite series of all times. I've played, I want to say, almost every single iteration of Ghost and Goblins. Am I very good at it? Yeah, it's up for debate. It's a tough game. Does Orcs deliver on that? No, it doesn't. Not even close. It is not as frenetic. It is not as crazy. It is not as fun as Ghosts and Goblins. But it's a very simple, retro-looking kind of game. It can't decide on what the art style it wants to be. It wants to be NES. It wants to be Atari. It wants to be Super Nintendo. It can't decide. It wants to be Master System. It can't decide. And that's my problem with these retro-inspired games. But that's beside the point. Maybe it's something that you're into, and guess what? It's super cheap. And what does that mean? You get trading cards, and maybe you get a profit on that. I don't know. But go check it out. Orcs. What was my game number 2? The Oregon Trail card game. I got that recently for my kids on Christmas, and we played a game and all that, and it is actually a lot of fun. It's not the most in-depth game out there. The RNG is terrible. Like, quite literally. Within like the first few turns, my third youngest died of a snake bite, and he was like, "Oh, okay." I felt kind of bad. I was like, "You want to redo this?" He's like, "No, it's okay. That's how the game goes." I'm like, "Okay, well, you're taking it pretty good for being like 7." But, he became the shopkeep, and he was happy with that. And then I died randomly of dysentery. So, yes, it's exactly like Oregon Trail, where the RNG is terrible. But if you grew up with the Oregon Trail series and you love card games, it's actually quite a fun card game. It doesn't take too much strategy. It takes a little bit of thought, but it's still a lot of fun. And I can see that being a nice little, group game every once in a while. So go check that out. It should be available at Target, Walmart, and a whole bunch of other places, probably at your regular department stores. I don't know. So yeah, that's about it. Where am I at time? Oh, sweet. Okay, so this ain't going to be as long and bad as my last podcast, but if you have any recommendations on what I should do and what I should talk about, please leave your comments down below. And until next time, I need to figure out a good, call-out, a good sign-off. Thank you for listening. Oh, that's right. I got to plug myself. You can find, if you would like to find more of my material, I am available on Twitter at Sensei_Pong, on YouTube at www.youtube.com/Mr. Sensei Pong, or just type in Sensei Pong and do a search real fast and you'll probably find my stuff. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Sensei Pong. And if you found this on iTunes, Stitcher, or Android, good for you. I'm only saying this for my YouTube audience. So until next time, Sensei Pong signing out. Like and subscribe.